Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Lionel. I'm your host for LT Productions, and you are watching I Watch You Watch. Today, we're covering the Real Housewives of Rhode Island. This is Season 1, Episode 9. I do appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Please like this video. You can also subscribe and leave your comments below. Let's get into this week's episode. Well. This is after the infamous kick-out by Miss Rosie to Kelsey, after she was trying to play a joke on Rosie and Rosie wasn't having it no more and called her a slam pig. Kelsey's in her car. She finally leaves because I thought it was going to be disastrous because production ended up opening the door at the end of the episode, if you remember that, on last week. And I just said, ooh, don't do that. That's some Giselle type of stuff where she invites Ashley back in just for another fight to ensue between Ashley and Candace during Season 4. Like, hopefully you know that it's going to be on your heads if there is a physical altercation. Don't do that. You got your moment, in my opinion. I mean, do y'all think that anything else needed to happen between Rosie and Kelsey? No, it was it. So anyways, Kelsey calls Liz and just says, hey, she said all this, said I was sleeping with all these guys. And she said, look, I only slept with 6 guys her whole entire life. I don't know if I believe that, but that's not my argument. Whatever. She said while she's up here saying I'm doing all this, she has been known to have slept with 2 married men. One was a co-worker at her studio. That's the one that she's been saying in her confessionals that Rosie had this affair, ruined their marriage, and she got fired. Even though Rosie's been saying that she has this type of disease that ended up making her lose her job. But there's another one in regards to a basketball coach. This basketball coach decided to pay her off to tell her to keep quiet. However, she obviously hasn't been quiet, or he has been obviously quiet if you're too busy trying to, if it's out in the open like that. I don't know. But anyways, I've already said that Kelsey and Rosie are 2 of the same women. Rosie just got married. The other one is hopping from spot to spot to spot at this time, in my opinion. Jared and Ashley, they are at Restaurant Depot. They are trying to get some items for, it's not Aubrey's, is it Aubrey's? Sure. The coffee bar that they have. There's going to be Audrey's. It's going to be trivia night. Rosie calls and says, hey, all this stuff was going on with Kelsey and stuff. Like, Ashley was like, well, I'm going to be having trivia night, and I want to invite everyone. Should I invite Kelsey? Rosie said, you can do what you want. If you do invite her, I'm not coming. It's like, okay. I don't know how to respond to that, because it's like, Rosie, I mean, you're the one at this moment that has the advantage. I know you are tired of all of that, but I think I'm understanding as to why you really didn't want to show up, because it's just like your feelings are invalidated a lot within this group that tries to take Kelsey's side, and we'll get into that in just a minute. Ashley does ask, was she trying to be funny? Rosie said, no, I don't think so. Ashley was trying to at least get Rosie to see maybe there wasn't this malicious intent to all of this. I think it was a stunt for TV anyways, and I'm glad that you did out-stunt her, though, in my opinion. Jared just said, look, make sure whatever goes on, make sure y'all don't put Ashley in the middle of all this stuff. We move on to Alicia and Rula. They're at the beach. They meet up, and they're just talking about where the children are at right now. 2 are at camp someplace or somewhere, whatever it is. And Rula was like, I was feeling guilty for me even. Why are you feeling guilty? Like, you're a parent, you can have a little time off, you can have some me time, whatever, Rula. As much as I would probably like for Rula to be on this show, at this point, she's getting annoying. And I'm going to tell you just how annoying that she is. All of a sudden, this woman, Amanda is Joellen's neighbor. Rula knows her, and they're pretty tight. We find out that Amanda no longer talks to Joellen after being close. Ended up backstabbing her. I said, here we go. What a coincidence that Amanda, who's all mic'd up, is ready to now have something to say about Joellen. As I've been saying, Brian and Rula are about image. Even though you chose the wrong woman to hunch with. Y'all too busy trying to put out these fires that you don't want out there about your husband, even though you know he ain't ish. You know he's cheating still, and you're just not leaving him for whatever reason, even though you can, because we started talking about that. I'm like, Amanda, please try to get airtime another way. This is some Salt Lake City stunt. But they didn't bring her in front of Joellen's face. You're trying to discredit Joellen as far as what's going on. So then I just want to know what makes you different from Brian when Brian tried to get her fired from her job. And I'm talking about Joellen. Like, I don't see any difference. Like, and that's where Joellen was coming from as to even why she was so gung-ho against him, trying to destroy him over the truth. You're just like him. But anyways, they talk about Amanda leaves and all of that. Rula just has decided that she don't want to be around the negativity. No, Brian told you to get away from these women as they tell you all this stuff. And because secretly, I really don't want you to know what I got going on, so that you can't find. That's all it is. She can't find out what's really going on. Alicia says that, I'm still nervous. I don't know how to really tell her that, okay, there is proof that he is still cheating. And I wish they would go on and say it, but whatever. They talk about it if they actually did divorce. Alicia says, with me, I don't really have anything. If Bill leaves me, I'm out in the cold. It just brings her back to her childhood with her dad leaving and leaving the mom with no means to actually take care of themselves. With Brian leaves you, you're set because you got everything in order. Rula then, is saying, like, I want you to be educated. You never know what could happen in the future, and just be prepared. Alicia was like, I used to save like $10 a week. I said, Alicia, that ain't gonna do nothing. I say set aside $100 or whatnot. But anyways, you just never know about the what ifs, especially with your name on nothing. You don't have a clue. He could even pass away. None of that's coming to you because your name is not on anything. And I think that should be discussed with Bill. What do y'all think? He has a child out here. What's going on there? Alicia's nervous about demanding a stake into Pizza Mama. Even all the stuff and the ideas that she's come up with about Pizza Mama, she's still scared about that. Like, no, it's time to step up. No, let's make sure that that you're on equal standing grounds. Respect me, Bill. Don't use me as a mattress and a mule for you. Even though you do take care of me, thank you. But don't use me as that. So Joellen, Gary, Liz, Jerry, Kelsey, and Bill, they all triple date. We find out from Joellen that Rosie called her and wants to vent about what happened. I'm like, huh? Joellen's always been on Kelsey's side. She's like, well, why would she call you out of all people? But we heard how Joellen was telling Rosie, I'm glad that you stuck up for yourself against your friend. That's quite flip-floppish. Do y'all think? Or is this a way for Joellen to get all the tea? Is it just be nice to folks so she can go on and gossip about the next person? What do y'all think? They move off of that subject and they talk about Kelsey again. Kelsey asks a question to the group. Should an ex pay for anything after you break up? And everyone had their own opinions about it, and basically no. And I'm saying no. Now, do I understand some circumstances? Yeah. It is interesting for Kelsey and the dude to walk away. You don't receive anything from nothing. It could be a shell shock as far as, and a culture shock as far as what you're used to. If he's willing to do it, he doesn't have to or obligated to do that. But I just find it weird that you actually have a boyfriend in Bill, and he's allowing that to go on. And what I mean by that, you can do what you want with this other man. However, me and you, it ain't like that. You weren't married to him or nothing. And it's one thing if we were getting married and stuff. It's like, and then it would have to be cut off by then, But, man, it don't even look right. And I keep saying that Bill is not Kelsey's man. There's no way. As in, what was it last week about even moving in? There's no way no man is helping you move in someplace where another man is paying the bill at. That's a friend at best. That's all I can say. Then she was talking about if I get serious with Bill, he'll stop paying. You're not serious with him? This doesn't make any sense. That's why Kelsey, to me, is losing that it factor, because all these rumors are coming out about you as to what the truth is that you broke up with this man over 2 years ago. you have this other life going on and all that, and that's why Rosie says she had all these questions. Like, you're saying that she has this hard time. Like, how could you be having this hard time when she was already broken up well over 2 years ago? There's a lot of stuff that's got to be answered, at least with Kelsey and also Rosie. I mean, there are rumors out there. Now people are coming out, at least confirming this basketball coach situation. So, who's been talking about it? Because it's not making any sense. If he told her to keep quiet, why is this out here? Doesn't make sense. They get on the subject of Alicia talking because Joellen said, we had a heart to heart, and Alicia was saying, that she was homeless, and then Liz said no, she wasn't homeless. It was already stated back when they went to, was it Newport? Wherever it was. Anyways, she was trying to correct Alicia. They're going by, you stayed with your grandmother, so you were fine. So what are you talking about? And Alicia's going to explain it, but I'll even explain it now. How are y'all just going to sit up here, y'all making all these jokes? Kelsey, you're basically homeless. If this man wasn't really paying for your... you would really be homeless. Ugh. I don't like that. Alicia is stating her father left them with nothing. They had to move in with someone, temporary or however, to get back on their feet. Meaning that they didn't have anything for themselves. And y'all are just looking at it as a one way as someone that's on the corner, homeless and begging. There's other ways to be homeless. Moving on. It's trivia night. Rosie arrives, Liz arrives, and everyone else is arriving. Well, the main event, Kelsey, she arrives. And she has a satchel that says Miss Slampig. Liz was like, oh my God. Now what are you doing? What are you doing? Da 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 da. Anyway, she wants to wear it proudly. Like, you want to call me that? Hey, I know her intent, and she's trying to make TV in regards to this, but it's just like, yeah. What are you going to say when people say, well, why you have this on? What are you going to say? Oh, she called me that? Okay. She called you that. What now? Like, she called you that. What now? Like, it's not making any sense, Miss girl, Kelsey. So then she hops, there's like 2 tables. So she hops over to where Rosie is. She's hugging somebody. And then she said, oh, isn't this a cute name, Rosie? And Rosie's like, what did she say? Oh, she said, this is a nice name. Nice, Rosie. I learned a new name. And then Rosie was like, we don't need to talk. Yeah, I don't want to talk to you either. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You wanted to start something back up with her again because you're really offended by that word. You're trying to make good TV. You're trying to be Kenya Moore. Cool. However, it's not landing because the other person don't want to participate in that way. And I think you should have just worn it. But there was no reason for you to try to start things back up with Rosie because you know you lost the war or lost that battle back there at her house. Like, none of this is... You want her attention, even though she called you a slam pig. That's weird. Everyone runs to Kelsey's table. Alicia says, I'm going to go over to Rosie's table. Alicia's trying to be understanding to Rosie. Rosie said, thank you for having my back. Liz comes over and tells Rosie, remember who you are and stop trying to prove your point. I don't know what all that meant. Then everyone runs to Rosie's table and Kelsey follows. Then they get on the subject since Joellen's around, like, so you're okay with Joellen? She's like, yeah, she's been nice to me. And then Joellen says, I send memes. Hopefully Rosie knew that was not a flattering thing. She just basically, I've been nice to her as a charity case, sort of, so to speak, Like, that is so crazy. Oh. Then everyone's trying to get Rosie to mend with Kelsey and basically said, she meant all that as a joke. And Rosie's like, no, she didn't. She meant all this, da 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 da. Basically, it's the same thing as when they went on that trip. She apologized to you. It was backhanded. and people didn't even catch it. It was just in some type of way. It's supposed to be so minute as to how Rosie feels. Y'all diminish her feelings and all that, and Rosie wasn't having it no more. Rosie and Kelsey, they was going at it and all that good stuff. And Rosie just said, look, I'm leaving. The clique needs to stop clicking as she's walking out the door. She's just tired of the clique and the gang up and all that stuff. Y'all just want, if it was to make things right, it wasn't someone, it's not a group that's trying to see both sides of the situation. Y'all just want Kelsey to be the hero in all of this. All right, so Alicia, Bill, and Selena, she holds this marketing meeting for things how to market and to, I don't know if they're getting an expansion or whatnot, but they're at least trying to spruce up the place, or they're she's trying to add more value to the restaurant. She's got new uniforms, all this other stuff, and she finally just says what is really on her mind. Look, you got all this stuff, and I don't have my name on anything. Like, do you trust me with the business? He's like, kind of, sort of, not really, but she's like, am I going to have any ownership, Pizza Mama? What do you have? You know, you have a daughter here and all that. What's going to happen with anything with your empire after all this? So what we thought would be bad, or what Alicia thought would be bad, he said, no, you could have ownership. He says that he really likes what she has added to the restaurant and all of that. I said, there's a relief. I really like Alicia. She's coming out. She was more of a slow burner, and I'm really liking her. So there's now a promissory note written out, kind of like a contract, of her getting 10% of Bill's shares, and it's contingent upon if she works. She said, I want to be fair and all that, and he busts out laughing and all that. All right. Rosie calls Ashley, and she apologizes. That's not the way I want to be towards you all. I just couldn't handle it. She invites her, and she's inviting the group besides Kelsey to Rich's performance, which is in Boston, at the Copa. It's 45 minutes away, but people belly ache about 10 minutes away. I mean, we saw that in the first episode, how everyone is. They don't really want to travel anywhere. Probably because everything's so close by that you don't really want to just drive out and do anything. And I think that's cool. That's a way of having community, in my opinion. Rosie says that how her and Rich met is he was a producer on some type of radio station. He asked her to be in one of his music videos. And she thought that was so cool. She was in it, and the rest is history. So as everyone's traveling to Boston, Alicia, Liz, and Joellen, they're going to be riding in the car together. They met up at someone's house. I forgot who it is. They had champagne and all that. I thought it was cool. And they had the charcuterie board. They didn't get to start eating because Uber came and they brought this food. Now, I don't know about Uber allowing food. Maybe like Uber Black. I never had Uber Black. But I'm like, then they would start wasting stuff up in there. I said, what? Now, come on, y'all. I mean, it was interesting to see, but it's just from a practicality stance, like, what's going on here? But it was all cool. They talk a little bit about Kelsey and Rosie. They're both stubborn people, even though he was trying to get them together. Alicia brings up a conversation that she had with Joellen in regards to her mom, and then even being homeless and all that. You know, I really didn't appreciate you, Liz. You were dissecting what I said about this homeless situation when you were saying you weren't homeless, and all of that. From what I see, Liz wants to be right, which she's not. Technically, you could say, okay, they're not on the street, but she was still homeless and all of that. You're invalidating my feelings. You don't know what we went through. You stay with your grandmother. Like, it's still not the same as not having your own. You had to go stay with someone. You didn't have your own. Nothing you were paying rent to. Nothing that you have a deed to. Nothing. It was embarrassing, even though your family did take you in and all of that. Alicia started crying because she really felt the way. And she said, look, I did not mean to really do this to you and discredit you. Alicia says that you do that often and you just really reveal your character. But you said that about Rosie too. So it's just like, it could start to fall flat when you start saying that all the time. Nah, I know who you are. It's just, I don't know what it is about Liz. Just like when Kelsey said what she said about what triggered her about the whole thing with the best friend. But anyways, she has a problem also with Joellen. She's hearing Joellen's side, or Joellen's hearing Alicia's side, and now having empathy towards her and all of that and trying to smooth things over. Liz doesn't think that she's a great moderator, especially at how Joellen was more on Liz's side during the dinner that they had, during the triple date. Could I understand what Liz is talking about? Yeah, but now she's heard both sides and she's like, look, you can't sit up here and still have this posture of thinking that you're right when you're hearing Alicia and what she's talking about. Let it go. And just apologize and stop all of this. Anyways, we see that something else is going to erupt between Joellen and Liz. And it's Liz that seems to have a stubbornness too, that don't want to be caught being wrong. I'm trying to still define it because I like Liz, but I'm trying to define it as to what Liz got going on. But anyways, if y'all have any guesses, let me know. But that was it. I enjoyed myself. I just really want Rhode Island to have its own night so it can shine. I can't have 2 other shows. It's a lot. And I actually had time to sit down before I go and enjoy myself for the rest of Memorial Day. But I was able to just sit down and just kind of see what's going on, because a lot of times I'm just rushing to watch the episode to give you a review and I don't really get to be in the moment, and it can be frustrating sometimes. Let me just get one thing where I gotta review. Please, people. Please, Bravo. Yeah. Rhode Island doesn't need Atlanta. Let them grow on their own. They got it. I appreciate everyone for coming. Y'all leave your thoughts on what you thought of this episode and all the stuff that's rumbling up. I appreciate you for coming. Like, comment, subscribe. And until the next one, peace.